Today's discussion is about and called Bridging the Divide. It's bridging the divide in an ongoing national conversation about public policies that are good for the environment and for the economy at the same time. Now, like most public policy issues, this one has loads of complexity. And I'm going to come back to that word a few times, complexity. There are many types of complexity in the discussion that you will hear about today. There are scientific and technical and engineering issues. There are economic tensions. There are political tensions. There are social and legal issues. All of those will come up in various forms today. And it's the combination of these things that makes these public policies so difficult. But I actually think it's those things that make all policy complex. And this notion of policy complexity brings me to the second hat that I am wearing today. Now, nobody in this city needs to be reminded about the role that Max Bell, the man, played in the development of Western Canada. But many of you may not know Max Bell's strong connection and strong commitment to McGill University. And you also may not know that the Max Bell Foundation has recently given a very generous gift of $10 million to McGill University to create a brand new Max Bell School of Public Policy. I have to say, as a Canadian, I love the optics of a public policy school that has powerful roots in both ends of the country. I think it positions us very well to be a leading voice in important national conversations. And this is a perfect example today. And I promise that the Max Bell School will be back in Calgary and other cities, east and west, to talk about the importance of public policy, to talk about the importance of understanding the complexity of public policy, and the importance of getting it right. And that's what today is all about. I just have to add, as an economist, born and raised in Edmonton, who left Edmonton in about 1980, I'm also delighted to see the concept of money flowing from Alberta to Quebec that has nothing to do with the federal equalization program. And I hope you also celebrate that. The breakfast keynote is a man who needs absolutely no introduction in this country, but he is nonetheless going to get one. David Dodge is a national policy treasure in this country. He's currently a senior advisor at Bennett Jones. He was the governor of the Bank of Canada. And I would actually argue that a big chunk of Canada's good economic policy over the years has somewhere David Dodge's fingerprints on it.
Chris described it as complex. Yes, it is complex, but it is also an issue which tends to be emotional. Maybe that's part of the complexity to which Chris was referring. And so it's quite often difficult to have really rational discussion on the ways to deal with emissions of greenhouse gases. But it should help the bulk of Canadians to understand how best to achieve the goal of reducing greenhouse gases while continuing to slowly improve Canadian standard of living. And there are two key questions in this, those that have been addressed by the Ecofiscal Commission. What are the most efficient tools to reduce greenhouse gases that Canadians produce in the medium term at the lowest possible aggregate cost? And secondly, how do we pay for this? How do we raise national income in order to pay for the cost of reducing greenhouse gases? In short, we raise national income by selling our hydrocarbons, the hydrocarbons which we produce, to foreigners at the highest possible market price. It is very important to combine carbon pricing policy with policies to gain the maximum economic rent on the sale of our hydrocarbon products to foreigners, including the sale of bitumen from the oil sands, While global demand for oil is robust and is still growing, that's what's very important to do in order to pay the cost of achieving that long-run benefit of avoiding catastrophic climate change. Our inability to deliver the product from the oil sands to the highest price global markets reduces the pure economic rent that the industry and Canadians can collect on this sale. That gain can help us as individual Canadians and as producers in Canada to pay for the cost of reducing our domestic consumption of fossil fuels which produce greenhouse gases. Because it's consumption that produces the problem, the consumption here and consumption worldwide that produces the problem, not the production or the transmission of fossil fuels. So if we could capture the lost rent and recycle that back into our economy, then the cost of adjusting to a low carbon economy can be better managed by us all.